watching and listening to Bishop Brothers, a safe space where real issues being dealt with by real people are brought forth and discussed. Every week, the fire of love is lit as two 21st century bishops share the first century church message. Join and engage in the conversations, featuring grassroots interviews, book reviews, and God-inspired commentary. Here are your hosts, Aaron and John, Bishop and Bishop, Chief and Chief. But above all, they are brothers. Welcome aboard.
And we're back.
What's going on?
What's happening? It's been a busy week.
Oh yeah,
Always
busy week.
And yeah,
that's all good. That's all good.
Well, this is our usual Ask the Brothers episode.
Mm-hmm.
Really excited for everybody to join us. Just to let everybody know, we do have questions that people have sent in.
Mm-hmm.
You are more than welcome to submit questions in the chat. We'll try to get to them. If we don't get to them, I'll write them down. Like some of these are from the last episode. We'll write them down and we will get to them the next time we do Ask the Brothers. But thank you guys for being here. We really appreciate it. How's your week going?
Oh, good, great. We get to be in the land of the living. And
Yes.
A lot going on. Get ready for fall. Glad it's cooling down here in Tejas.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm glad. I'm enjoying these cooler mornings. Yes, it's all good. Yes, everything's good to go.
Yeah, awesome. So we got some really good questions today. Less theological, which is something I like. I enjoy doing the theological stuff. I like teaching seminary level stuff, but some of these questions are really about the heart of ministry.
Yeah.
And then old Bishop John got himself in trouble on TikTok, so we're gonna talk about that too.
Oh,
so, first question is, what made you want to become a pastor? It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Well, for me, that's easy. I didn't want to become one. So, really, I did. Actually, I ran from it because, growing up, you see pastors and things like that, and I'm from, obviously, a black tradition, and see pastors, and a lot of time, it's a lot of prestige attached to it, and this and that attached to it. But when I read and studying, and I was dealing with the call of my life, I really always wanted to be sure, because I knew I had to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And then when I read about the blood on your hands and all that stuff and accountability, I think this is what we run from. This is what we run from. But if you really, when I really looked into it, I like it wasn't a career move for me. It wasn't saying I want this for my career or betterment. It wasn't a professional move. It's a call, and it's everybody's got a different reasons or a different process how they deal with it. But I didn't want it, and when I said I didn't want it, it meant it's not like I'm doing it begrudgingly or mean-spirited about it. Just like that, I understood that when I do this, when I take this mountain, when I take on this, I got to make sure that I do it according to the best of my ability and the responsibility that come with it. And that's not an easy thing. So when you really truly understand what it is, nobody should want it. But if the call is there, obviously you can't run from it. But and I still feel like sometimes, like, man, am I worthy of this? Did you choose the right person? But I thank God that for him allowing me the opportunity to work in his field.
Yeah, for me, I'll never forget the first time I asked another pastor about being a pastor. A lot of people don't know, my history. I grew up Irish Catholic for the first 9 years. Well, Irish Catholic culturally. I mean, we didn't really go to church, but we affiliated ourselves with Irish Catholicism. And so I got to Boysville. At that point, I was really angry with God, and I really wasn't even a Christian. But after I joined the Navy and kind of got grounded, I did start to ask about being a pastor. And, one of the things that was taught to me right off the bat was if you want it, you probably shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that that I felt, and this is feelings, right? I felt like I wanted to step into that position.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more I learned about the position, the more I did not want the position.
Yeah.
the more I realized I was going to have to deal with death and marriage and speaking truth to power. I mean, early on in my life, that's not something I particularly wanted to do.
Right.
I just kind of wanted to live my life and be left alone. But I got to this point where I just could not deny it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I could not deny that I was meant to, number one, fall in love with Jesus, fall in love with the scriptures, and then fall in love with his people, and then be there for the people, no matter what that meant. So for me at first, I didn't want to be a pastor. I thought I did, and then I was like, ooh, man, this is a lot of work for very little pay. It's like no pay. And yet here I am, right? So, I think how I knew I wanted to be, or how I knew I needed to be a pastor was I didn't want to be a pastor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how that went for me. Okay. What have been your favorite and least favorite experiences in ministry? It's a good one.
It really, and definitely makes you think. Favorite is the people. Seeing people's lives change, seeing people, get restored and renewed, give a hope that money can't give, a new car can't give, things can't give, when they actually have a relationship with Jesus, a relationship with God, seeing people's lives turn around and things like that, and knowing that they're not there because of you, but you play some small role in helping them get to where they are, and that's a good feeling that money can't buy. That when they have a relationship with God now, not beyond religion, theology, like I said, when they know God for themselves, that's a feeling that you really can't. You always hear players talking about, how does this championship feel? That's when you can't. I can't articulate how that feels.
Right.
When a person who gets to know Jesus, gets to know Christ for themselves, and the access to God, and when they don't need you,
right?
That's good. And when they know they have access to God, you just there as a support system for them. The least favorite thing, I don't know if I really have a least favorite thing, because I guess my least favorite is the same as my favorite people.
That's yep.
It is. It is hard dealing with people. Ask Moses. Because people are people, and people are fickle, and I'm fickle. I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about people are fallible. They're gonna make mistakes. They're not gonna do everything you want you to do, and they're going to use you, abuse you, walk away from you, come to you. And this is a life. It's a human life. People say a past life. This is a past life. People walk in out of your life all the time, and it's frustrating when you know. Back to the first question, that the manner you have. I say it like this: it doesn't matter how disrespectful my kids get to me as far as in a school setting. I still have to be professional.
Yeah.
In a pastorship, it doesn't matter how unruly the sheep get. That doesn't give me a green light or some authority to abuse them, misuse them, walk away from them. I don't have a green light just because they're acting a certain way. I have a higher call, and I should walk in a higher call. So that's the first. Both answer the same. Yeah. The greatest thing is people, and the worst thing is people. Dealing with people is it's tough. That's why a lot of people like computers and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I do enjoy working from home and not being in an office with people anymore. I'll give you that. It's funny you say that the thing that you love about ministry is also the thing that is your least favorite about ministry. Because I'm the same way. It's just a different thing. For me, my favorite part about ministry was chaplaincy. When I worked for the coroner's office in Kitsap County. Because you got to be with people in just the absolute worst situations. You got to be there share concern, show people what genuine Christian love is. Because genuine Christian love isn't having an answer for every question. In my opinion, genuine Christian love is searching out the answers together in love. Realizing that on some things we may never know the answer this side of grace, so or this side of heaven. So that was absolutely by far and away my most favorite moments were in those. And my least favorite were having to be in those moments when I have to tell, a 28-year-old mother of two that she's a mother of one now, and she doesn't have a husband to do it either. That's really hard. And I do remember coming home some nights and just staring at the wall for hours to just try to decompress out of it, because it's so painful to watch someone go through that, to watch someone completely, to see their whole world that they've built just completely collapse in a moment, within a few words. And then you get into this, I'm the one that said those words. Did I do this? And the reality is, no, you didn't, but it doesn't change how you feel. Right. So very similarly to you, my absolute favorite part of ministry was chaplaincy work, dealing with people in the worst of times. But the hardest part, the most, was the exact same thing. So yeah, it's really, I don't think we're unique in that way. I think a lot of pastors, their calling in ministry, because a lot of people don't realize your calling in ministry isn't just, well, I'm going to preach. Well, what are you going to preach on? Right? Or I'm going to teach. Okay, well, what specifically you're going to teach, right? A lot of people will specialize in ministry as they advance in ministry. And most people will tell you the thing that they love about ministry is usually the thing that they struggle with in ministry. So it's good. It's good. All right, next question. Who are some of your theological influences? So for me, Jesus Christ. I mean, should go without saying, but sometimes you do need to say it. But also David Cole, Ray Simpson. Those are Celtic theologians. Dr. Cone, Dante Stewart. It's his book right there. Recently, I've been listening to some podcasts of some newer theologians, Keith Giles, December Rose, some of them. So there's a lot of them, and they change over time. When I started, it was all about Josh McDowell and those kind of people. This is going to sound kind of mean when it comes out, but I've kind of outgrown the MacArthurs and the that type of theology, because in my opinion it's very boxed in. So who influences me has changed over time. I didn't even know who Dr. Cone was till we met, and so for the first 8 or 9 years of ministry, I had no idea who Dr. Cone was. And now his words influence a lot of my writings, a lot of how I approach sermons. So that's kind of a moving target for me.
Yeah, it's movement, Me, because Martin Luther, the German, Martin Luther King, obviously, the American, James Cone. Some that don't come to mind right now off the top of my head. But yeah, it's a movement thing, because I'm like this. I would pretty much read anybody, whether they influence me is a difference, but I'll still read about it. And I think that's important that we should read people, particularly from different perspectives, because a lot of times we get locked in to our perspective, and we get like Billy Graham. It's a great influence on a lot of people. Theology, and I'm not. I guess when I decide theology, I'm talking about people that's maybe not considered theologians by the letter of the technical academic field, but in my mind, as much as I read of Graham and their theologians to me, because their works were live beyond them, and obviously, like I said, Jesus. But I think if our theology is not shifting, if it's grounded, if it's rooted, we're gonna have a problem, because theology is it's like you wrote a book on timeless theology, but it changes with different cultures, so we got to make sure we don't get ourselves boxed in to I'm only going to read King, or only going to read Cone, or I want to read Cone if I just read the title.
Yeah.
In Black Liberation Theology, so if I'm a white person or if I'm a black person, I say, well, read it and find out what he got to say and take what you want from, like anything Martin Luther,
right?
When he nailed his thesis to the church,
Mm-hmm.
but we still read it today because it's very important.
Yeah.
So I think a great one will always stay with you in some way. How they influence you is critical, but I don't think we should fear reading and studying all of them in some capacity.
I would agree. And that's kind of part of the moving target. I also think, some of the theologians that have influenced me are people that history won't record. David Welch, who was my mentor and lead pastor before I took over at Chico up in Washington. Huge influence on my ministry. Now, he's not a theologian per se, but he absolutely spoke insight into my life, and we didn't always agree on everything, and that didn't matter, and that's what was so beautiful about that relationship. But here, actually, I have a question for you. So when we talk about theologians, it's very much like politicians, like who are the heroes of America, right? George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Grant, Sherman, those kinds of people. I want to know I want to get your take on this, because I have a take on this. Does what they do outside of the arena that is influencing you, right? So for theologians, and I'll give you an example before you speak, but do what they do with their life outside of this place where you're being influenced, does that affect how you let them in or not? And the example I have, I guess what's happened with me, is Ravi Zacharias. For a long time, Ravi Zacharias was a heavy hitter for me. He was an apologist. He would typically debate, atheists, and, that was his quote-unquote ministry calling, right, was to do those things. Now, Ravi Zacharias, after his death, some pretty significant allegations came out that they've reached my burden of proof. It's enough sexual abuse allegations, misuse of power, these kinds of things. And I will tell you, I know the people at home can't read every book that's on the thing, but you will not find a Ravi Zacharias book up here on my reading shelf. And that's because I've chosen to remove him and his teachings out of my life because of that. It's very similar to my iTunes playlist. R. Kelly. R. Kelly had some of the greatest romance songs that I used to love to jam to, but you won't find him on my iTunes anymore because of what he did outside. Now, there's an argument where someone could say, well, there's there's R. Kelly the artist, there's Ravi Zacharias the apologist, and then there's what they did. It's almost the same argument that gets used. Well, Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner, but look how prolific his writing was. He was a great writer, right? And a deist, not really a Christian. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, this is the age-old question. How you separate? Well, Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, right? Am I right?
That's what they say.
He's a murderer.
He is.
So are you gonna start reading the first 5 books? I'm not.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like I think we have to. Now, I look at it like this. This is what that's meant. There's active living, active in it, or people who are dead. People who are dead are not going to change their character.
That's true.
Dead.
That's true.
So therefore, just because you have bad character, because in essence we all do at some point. We're all going to forget. Yeah. I mean, we talk about the day of Pentecost and we talk about how Peter wrote on the day of Pentecost, but we need to remember that Peter was the same person that denied him. It wasn't a change of Peter's. One, I'm gonna hit a lot of people with, I don't read that well. There's a man named Paul whose name used to be Saul, who was a cold-blooded murderer with the consent of the church.
Right.
This is not a justification of anything. Don't get it twisted. But human failure is human. So we're not gonna start reading Paul.
That's
true.
true.
You're not going to start.
That's
You're
fact.
just not. I mean, if you're going to start doing that, man, then you have no theology at all.
You're going to have a significant problem.
Yeah. So, but the fact of the matter is, he was who he was. Now, this was pre and post conversion. I get that, and this person, I think we have to understand that we're all infallible. We're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Not actively living in sin, but if somebody wrote something good or something was good, doesn't mean. Here's why I close with it. My reading something doesn't mean an endorsement of the character.
That's a fact.
I'm gonna say it again.
That's a fact.
My reading something. Classic case. What's the name of Hitler's book?
Mein Kampf.
I just said I need to read that book to understand how German citizens thinks about him. Because my understanding might be, but if I read that book, I can understand his time frame. I'm not going to read one sentence he says, but me knowing it, and me wanting to know it doesn't mean that I'm in agreement with it.
Right.
I just have the knowledge to be able to talk to somebody or deal with somebody in that situation. That's what it goes by. What I said. We can't understand, because I can take it and do something good with it.
Right. Yeah.
And God uses. I mean, Dr. Clean's classic case. You talking about somebody who had, you know the story of how he lived his life, as far as the immorality, and I'm not getting into it. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good at all.
Yeah.
Period, point blank, end of discussion. But am I going to still study the Birmingham letter? Of course. Am I going to still study his speech that he made at Riverside Church? Of course. Because his words were uplifting. That was great. And I believe they was endorsed. But I've never said I'm endorsing anybody's character.
Right.
And I think we tie character with that. And I'm not talking about actively doing it. You need to be, but I don't, if we go down that, then we might well take all the books off the shelf.
Yeah. Because
somewhere in people's histories is a failure, a moral failure, and so even going to music.
Yeah.
I mean, I not endorsing R. Kelly in any way as far as what he did, but for me to sit here and say, if I want credibility, the man wasn't a brilliant artist, would be a lie.
Right.
If I choose not to,
that's true.
If I choose not to listen to it, that's my choice.
Right.
But to say he can sing, you're not being credible.
Right. And it's the same. It's and that's the exact same.
Yeah.
Where we run into that, how that intersects Christianity, is on the pulpit. Like the last run of the tape we did. Well, he's such a great pastor. He's such a guy. He's got such a great voice. He's a prolific preacher. Yeah, but he's having sex with 16-year-olds. That your talent does not remove you from accountability, right? And so I completely hear what you're saying, and I agree with it. For me, the reason I got rid of Ravi Zacharias, the reason I don't buy Ravi Zacharias' stuff anymore, the reason I don't listen to R. Kelly anymore, is because when I find out the issue, right? It does, like you said, it doesn't take away from their writing or their art or their what they were. What it does take away from me is me continuing to support them. Right?
That's a whole different right. Of course, I believe that the government, that's something where the government said, man, that you don't support. If I buy Hitler's book. Right now, you don't go no support of him. Exactly. But it's still in the library for us to read, to study, to see how the German citizenship got into this situation. But we make sure it's endorsement. Yeah, But I think we still we have to study certain things, because that don't mean you're in. You hear people say all the time, "Oh, you reading the book?" Well, I'm not endorsing. God forbid if I say a quote Malcolm X. Well, you're a black nationalist? No. No. But if he says words that are true, it's true. Right. No matter his chosen religion, if he's saying something that's true, it's no different than listening to Jefferson or something like that. If Jefferson says the words were great, the practicality wasn't there, but the words were great. Brilliant. All men are great equal. He said that, but then practicality. Right. So words have always not followed. Words have always actions have not always not followed words.
Right.
Oh yeah. So that's nothing. That's a historical thing. I mean.
Yeah. And here in about 3 questions, we're gonna talk about John's character. We're gonna get into that, right? Mm-hmm. And then and once we say the question, you'll understand what we're talking about. But then the question is, because I guarantee you, there are people that have seen that or saw what happened, and they've stopped listening to me. And that, one, I respect that. If that's where you're at, and if it hurts you like that, then I respect that. But does that mean every book I wrote before that, every sermon I preached is now null and void?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so you got. I think there's a balance there. I think in the end, there's a balance.
It doesn't mean endorsement. Like I said, you can talk about the payment of it and make sure they don't get benefit off of it, but it certainly doesn't mean endorsement.
Right. Exactly. So, this is a good one. What do you think is the most pressing issue facing the church today? So now they watch Bishop Brothers, they watch my TikTok, but clearly they didn't make the gathering this summer.
Yeah,
because I think we were pretty clear on that one.
Yeah, for me it's mental health.
Yeah,
and that's just even looking at it now. I mean, we have these things all around the school, counseling. Our particular. You given now districts pretty much all across are given 5 free counseling sessions. Mm-hmm. That don't take away your normal sick days. Mm-hmm. These sessions are free, right? No question asked, paid for, because they see and understanding that mental health is an issue, and the church, unfortunately, it really gets my nerve, has we've been really. Really, really bad. I want to say this publicly, because this is going back to the question about being a pastor and about a leader. The number one thing about pastors, we need to really get therapy, and teach that their members should be getting therapy. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, we need to break out of this box where saying you get counseling and therapy is a stigma. Yeah, I get therapy. I was in the military. I have issues. I'm a bishop. I preach what I get. I want to put that publicly. I don't want nobody thinking. No secrets. I want to. It's not a secret. I don't want to think anybody thinking that that I'm not going to say it because I don't want to look a certain way. I don't care what you think about me. It has nothing to do with my bishopry. I am a human being. Mm-hmm. Just like my knee, your brains need therapy too. Your mind needs talking to and counseling too. Just like any other part of your body. Nobody says anything if a preacher goes out and plays basketball and hurt his knee and tears ACL and getting therapy with his knee. Back. He can still preach. Still a man of God, a woman of God. Yeah, yeah. So why can't if I have counseling with somebody, we're all in this condition that we need help from other human beings. Yeah. Jesus himself didn't live this life alone.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had friends around him. He had people around him. He had support around him. He talked to them, and they spent every action that Jesus did. He lived. Right? Everybody's action. Everything's not in the. No, it's not.
That's a fact.
Nobody has written a day to day every second of what he did, and it's not there.
Furthermore, if that were the case,
just relax.
It'd be false. Not there. That'd be a lie.
It's not there.
I wouldn't read that.
And so, you don't think he had down days? Yeah. You don't think he had the counselors? Did he go? I'm not saying he went to therapist. I'm not saying it. Don't get it twisted. What I'm saying is he had people that he knew. If me and you are having a conversation, and we're talking about things right now, it's counseling. Right. Whether we want to call it that or not. Now, it might not be the therapy, but I'm saying you need to go get the professional treatment. My point is, when you're talking to people, you can call it what you want. Mm-hmm. It can become a counseling session that we're helping one another. Yeah. Me and you can talk about the military, like we'll get to that point that somebody did today. Like,
yeah, we will.
Because we've been there.
Right.
But this notion that we've been secretive and being not saying anything, no. And we need to have, not just say it, you need to have in your church part resources, where to go, somebody you trust when they seek it. But no, we can't do that because we don't want the money to and that's what we're thinking about. But mental health.
Yeah, I would agree. I too seek therapy. There's nothing wrong with it. It has been like Rachel said. Hey, Miss Rachel.
And watch this. And you're a therapist.
I am a therapist.
So,
yeah.
So
yeah, I'm a licensed therapist. Yeah,
it's like,
and I get therapy. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So, but just like Miss Rachel said, Jesus and therapy, right? It's not an and or. It's not a this or that. It's an and. It's palliative, right? And if you look at Jesus's life, the things we do know about him, we know he got sad. We know he got anxious. We know he got angry.
Right.
He went through the entire gambit of emotions that a human would go through because, newsflash, he was put in human form.
Right.
Right? And so he experienced all those things. So to say that, and what do you mean he didn't seek counsel? I mean, he was around his friends all the time. Right. So, to me, the Gospels are very clear that therapy is not only a good thing, but absolutely necessary to humans.
Exactly.
So, for me, when I talk about the biggest issue facing the church right now, I think worldwide it's the mental health issue. I think the church in America right now is struggling with this politics identity, where it has gotten so focused on power. That's really what it's become, right? It's and as much as people like to it's the conservative Christians, it's conservative. No, it's the liberal ones too. I've seen both sides. I deal with both sides, and I'm telling you, both sides can be just as sucked into politics as the other side can. And it's an identity crisis because we as a Western church have decided our identity rests in our politics and not in Christ. And so to me, right now, that's a huge issue facing the church. And I'll tell you, it's such an issue that, in my opinion, 20, 30 years, there isn't going to be a Western church. Yeah. Not the way we see it now, which is not a bad thing. I'm cool with burning it to the ground because it has just gotten infected with this cancer of identity politics. So I think church needs to look completely different. So that's where I see the biggest issue with church. Yeah. So, all right, next question. This is a good one. This goes right into this one. And what did Miss Rachel say? So I just saw an article that says because Christians have the Holy Spirit, we shouldn't go to therapy. That is probably in the top 5 of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Yeah. Wow. And that got published. So that's where we are. Yeah. That's published. Yeah. Wow. I'm sorry you had to read that. How do you deal with and avoid burnout? So for people at home who don't know what burnout is when you just basically you work yourself so hard that you basically have to step away from your job and you simply can't do it anymore. And right now, it is the second highest next to conflict with parishioners, dealing with people. It is the second highest reason why pastors are leaving church is burnout. So how do you deal with that?
You got to, I always say people, you have to, it's like a police officer has a gun in his car, a speed gun, and you come by, he shoots your gun at you, and not but a speed gun lays at you, and he gets your ticket. If you go to court, and they have to bring that gun, that speed radar gun in court. Why? Because the judge is going to check to make sure it was properly calibrated. I think a lot of times when we read about the communion where Paul said, let a man examine themselves, I think we mess up where we think it's only talking about communion. It's all in aspect of life. So what I do is, in my mind, I have a self-examination plate. Plate has things in it. I say, I got this, I got a family, I got church, I got bishop brothers, I'm a teacher, I'm writing. So on this plate, you've seen a plate. Have you seen a plate that's too full?
Oh, yeah. Every Thanksgiving I see a plate that's too full.
That's just one of them.
Look at me, brother.
Yeah.
I see lots of plates that are too full.
You can't do everything.
Fact.
And you got to define, and it's a constant, of that plate though, it's a constant calibration. Like right now, I'm going to take things out of my life that I know, because as I get, as I get closer, I know now, it's like when I transition from the military, what I'm going to be doing, and I know what's on this plate, and this is what I believe that God is telling me I'm going to do as far as what I'm in the future. And I'm not putting everything on that plate, and I'm going to take unnecessary things. You have to determine yourself. You got to get. Do you do this every 3 months? See, I'm serious. You have to really sit down.
Yeah.
And look at my certain things are non-negotiable. I call.
Right.
We're gonna have a family. That's gonna be on the plate. I'm not gonna walk away from God. That's gonna be on the plate.
Mm-hmm.
Ministry now. There's other stuff. Teaching. How long am I gonna teach? Well, I gotta work through that. Then there's other things I'm doing. So some things are non-negotiable on there.
Yeah.
The plate. That's just on the plate.
Yeah.
Because it's life. Other things. And once you find out all the stuff, you got to figure. And so that's how I try to examine myself, because you will burn out. And then go back to the question. I have therapy, preaching, and I have therapy from a professional therapist, not some counselor on the internet.
You don't do a pastoral counseling from the pastor down the road?
Pastoral counseling.
No?
Well, I counsel with pastors like you, but I define it different because I do counsel.
Right, and there's a difference between
pastoral counsel. But I'm talking about, we want to make clear, we're talking about
therapy.
Therapy with somebody licensed. Okay, this we're gonna pastor. You're not a therapist.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you can tune up and listen to it, pastor. Your Sunday sermon is great, but it doesn't cover every aspect of life. It does not replace therapeutic thing. So, see, this is what they don't want to hear.
Right.
They want to think all is Sunday morning. No.
Well, they want to have control.
Yeah, you can't provide that. And so, but it's not, but see, this, you're talking about the church, and this is why the church is burning down, is because we want to do the same thing, and people are burning out. And that's why you can constantly be talking to chairs and pews. That's right. Because the people going to are not. Right. But it's self-evaluation, recalibrating.
Absolutely.
You constantly got to do it, because it's no solid state.
That's right.
Nothing. Even your investments. That's why your investments say, "Hey, we need to look at your portfolio, because it's going to get skewed. It just happens."
Yeah, and for me, so I'm actually share something. You brought up a great point. I want to share something, and I want to get it recorded. I want to make sure everybody hear this. Here is the difference between pastoral counseling and therapy. Okay, legally, this is the difference. A pastoral counseling will give you advice on what is going on in your life and things you could do to fix it. A therapist treats you. Yeah. They're like a physician. Okay, so they are treating a specific issue, and they will give you a plan, basically a health plan, a treatment plan on how to get from A to B, right? Legally, a therapist is allowed to do that. Legally, a pastor is not allowed to do that. Right. So if you have a pastor that is giving you a treatment plan, like casting out demons in the middle of a kids camp in Canada, because that happened. They're real quiet on that TikTok, but they'll talk all about the other one. Anyway, but it's important to know the difference. And it's both are important in your life, right? If you came to me and said, "Hey, I need your advice on this," I would give you advice. If you came to me and said, "Hey, I'm depressed," I would tell you go see a therapist. Because we're too close for me to be your therapist, right? So I would tell you, "Hey, these are some really great therapists in the area. Go get you a treatment plan." Right? There's a difference. There's a distinct difference.
And you know what the church has done? The church's treatment plan is this. It's a demon.
It's a demon. You don't love Jesus enough.
Your brain breaks sometimes. You have mental health breakdown sometimes. And that's not a demon. It's life. Yeah. It's a process of life. And you're not a demon because you have issues within your brain, issues with your mind that you're struggling with and need treatment for. It is called treatment. Like your blood pressure, your diabetes, whatever. It is called treatment. Yeah. And this is what we got to get past. Not demons, Pastor. Are there demons? Yes. But you are getting these people thinking that they have demons in there, and they are depressed, no different like Elijah was.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
No different like Peter was.
Yep.
It's something that they need therapeutic treatment for. Yeah. And it's not anti-God. It's not sin. It's not heresy. It's not apostasy. Whatever words y'all want to throw there to fear, to call fear mongering. What you're doing is sin because you are violating an oath to make sure people get help. That's what you're doing. And sometimes, Pastor, you don't want to hear this part too. It could be a crime.
Fact. That's fact.
Now, they don't really hear that. They don't really get deep.
They don't want to hear
You don't really
that.
go to the deep waters.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be a crime.
Yep.
So you have a failure to report.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And so for me, burnout, I've learned it's good to have a battle rhythm.
Yeah.
You know, for me, for burnout, because I can't get frustrated or get like writer's block. I'll use my writing for example. I just finished a book coming out on November 1st. We'll talk about that later. But this when I'm writing, there are times I get frustrated or I just get tired of writing. Right? I mean, Timeless Theology is a 700-page book. I got really tired of writing multiple times. The trick with burnout, and I think it's true even outside of writing, the trick with burnout is understanding when you're reaching your limit and then asking for help or getting help. Right? And what that looks like, it looks like therapy. It looks like, hey, I need the associate pastor to preach for 2 weeks because I need some time to myself, which is completely okay. Here's another news flash. It is okay to miss church. It is okay to take a mental health day from church. They definitely don't want to hear that. No. They're going to lose money left and right now. But it is okay. It is okay to go, you know what? I'm just not in the mood to go to church today. Now, I know people aren't going to like to hear that, right? And there's options now. You can sit at home and watch on Zoom. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of options that you can do. What you don't want to do is get into a rhythm of not being around the body of Christ at all. That will create burnout in itself. But that's okay. To me, it's about rhythms. Rhythms of prayer, rhythms of writing, rhythms of and keeping it fresh. Right? I think that has been very helpful for me. Yeah. And I've avoided burnout that way. Here's a good one. Can you think of the biggest mistake you've ever made in ministry? I'll go first because I have a good one. So I don't even think I was ordained yet. I think I was on a temporary license. And I was the director of pastoral counseling at a church up in Bremerton, Washington. This is like my first year in ministry. And I was doing pastoral counseling. And I was with this young lady. And she was saying, you know, the Bible is meaningless to me. I can't find anything in the Bible that is meaningful to me. And man, I wish I had this one back because what I said was probably some of the dumbest advice I've ever given in my life. And you know, I don't know where this young lady went, and hopefully I didn't damage her. But this is what I did, Bishop. I literally took a Bible, like this one right here, and I said, "It's all meaningful. Look, just flip to a page and put your finger down." And whatever that verse says, I guarantee you we can find something meaningful. Well, one, that's probably some of the most hurtful stuff you can do to someone. Yeah. I don't ever do that. That's wrong. But what was wrong? It was wrong because, one, she's not saying she wants me to go figure out the Bible for her. There's a deeper issue. And I wasn't listening to her. And what I just did right there is cherry picking. It's something I'm very against now. But at the time, you know, I truly believed the Bible could do that. That it was some sort of magic thing that I could just point and it was going to all go away. Jesus was going to put my finger on the right verse. And while that's possible, it's not likely. Jesus isn't asking us to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Jesus is asking us to sit with people, be with people, and that's what I failed to do in that moment. That's my really bad.
I had a lot of my biggest is not or what I'm looking for improperly or not ordaining and lifestyle people I shouldn't have.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they weren't ready, and I really understand now how important that is because you can make a mockery out of God's word and out of people, and you can really hurt them because if people are not ready for positions, people are always going to want positions. you seen House? You up to date with House of Dragons?
Oh yeah.
Well,
I mean, no, I don't watch that. That's all sinful. I don't watch House of Dragons, but I did see the last.
I've had many Bayman moments.
Okay.
See, we're gonna do a whole season.
Yeah, we are.
It was. You can be right.
Yep.
Time and place.
Yep.
I've had a lot of Bayman moments.
Mm-hmm.
Failure when something has changed. See, you cut the deal, but then the situation changed, and then the deal was off. However, but you failed to read the room.
Right.
And your failure to read the room was your demise.
Yeah.
And we can all take a lesson from that. Is that many times I got myself, you have to learn how to read the room through the Holy Spirit, because things will change, but you'll have your mind so made up to want to do things. This is my favorite. That I do it anyway because I don't want to let people down. I gave you my word. You know, you can justify all you want to, but then you get your head cut off. Yeah. Because you fail to read the room, and then you got, and then it's happened. And so that's been some of the issues that I've learned to slow down, make sure that I try to look at the whole situation, and when things change, and when things change, when the wind shifts, that I'm able to shift with it and make sure I don't. I'm not so locked in with things.
Yeah,
that's what we can
absolutely.
do. Yeah.
All right, so I think last question of the night, the coup de grace for the night. Bishop John. From a fan, Bishop John. I recently saw a TikTok video where you dropped an F-bomb. What are your thoughts on cussing, and is it a sin? So here's what I'll say. I think first I'll address, is cussing a sin first? It can be. It absolutely can be. It's not about the specific words that come out of your mouth. It's about what you mean by those words. I'll give you an example. The word bat. That seems like a pretty harmless word. But if I told someone, I'm going to take this bat and smash your face in with it, that's sin. I didn't say one cuss word. That's very sinful to tell someone that. Right? You're threatening violence. So, is cussing a sin? It can be, in context. Now, I'll tell you, when I get up in the morning and I step my foot on one of these Legos that my daughter has left out, I do not say, "Oh, Lord Jesus, be with me this day." Those are not the words that come out of my mouth. I'm a sailor. I was in the Navy 21 years. It's not the Navy's fault. It's just, that's my vernacular. I do my best to try to not hurt people with my words. And I think that's the most important thing, is I will always do my best to not hurt people with my words. But this TikTok that they talk, because we're definitely gonna talk about it. The TikTok the video they're specifically talking about, had to do with something that hurt me, made me angry. And I said some things that may not have been appropriate. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. Here's what I will say here publicly while we're recording and we're live. If my words hurt you, that was not my intent, and I am sorry for that, and I do repent of that. If that hurts you, I can freely admit. I've been asked, "Hey, would you take the video down?" No, I'm not going to put the video down. I'm going to leave it there. One, so people can see it. And two, I think it lends to, I'm a human being. I am a bishop. I'm a pastor. I love the Lord. But I have been known to cuss. I have said cuss words before. But my intent is not to hurt people. Now, there's one person in particular, I meant it. I meant it to that person. But here's the segue. I think it's important when you see these things, instead of focusing on, and I'm not saying this person is completely justified in asking this question. It's a valid question. But as pastors, as leaders in the church, when someone does something like that, instead of focusing on what was said, we as leaders have to look at why it was said. Why did I say that? Because if you go on TikTok, you look at all my videos, there's no cuss words except this one time. So why? Well, let's talk about why. Tom Brady. And no, it's not because he's probably one of the most prolific quarterbacks in the NFL and I hate him because he's not a Panther. That's not it. Tom Brady, either a week before, I believe it was on a podcast, stated that being a football player in the NFL, leaving your family for the football season, is just like a military deployment. Okay? That made me mad. How dare you? How dare you? You make millions of dollars. You can fly your family anywhere in the country to come watch you play football. They can come to practice. I've watched Hard Knocks. Those families are at practice. Okay? I'm not saying the job's not hard. What I'm saying is it's not like a military deployment. I don't know about you, but I couldn't fly Jamie out to Afghanistan whenever I wanted to see her. That wasn't going to happen. As far as I know, outside of the movies, no one's ever opened fire in the middle of a football game. Football players shooting at football players outside of the movies. That's a little Last Boy Scout reference. So for me, that made me mad. That made me really mad. How dare you? So that's why it was said. Do I think cussing is a sin? It can be. Okay? Should pastors drop the F-bomb? You know, publicly we probably shouldn't. We probably should not do that. But, you know, it's there. And, you know, if I hurt people, I am sorry. I will repent of that. But I said what I said.
Yeah. Sin, I don't think it's always context. You know, I'll answer this question like this, and I want to talk. I'll get to Brady too.
Yeah, we'll get to Brady.
This question like this. You know, one thing I love about the writer I'm becoming, and that God is leading me down the path to, is fleshing out. The Bible is a book that's, you know, have a lot in it, but it don't have a lot in it. You know what I mean? Characters in the Bible are really not what writers call fleshed out, where you see maybe action, but the character's still not fleshed out. This is why when you adapt something from a book, it's always going to be different on a TV screen, because a TV screen, a book, you are making your own fleshing out of that character, right? And you dividing them, but the screen you got to show it. And so, to your point, you got angry at something, right? And you went to the time.
Yeah.
And you know what I was thinking about? I says, what I always would love one scene I want to see. Yeah, I know I'm sitting there stupid. It's okay. Pray for me. One scene that I want to see. Yeah, somebody give me. You know, I want to see Jesus when he was flipping those tables. Now, in my finite, messed up American mind, jacked up American mind,
yeah,
I believe he was probably cussing. What we gonna cussing? I believe he was just flipping tables. I just can't sit it in my mind. I'm just running around flipping tables. Right. He wasn't saying anything. There were no words. Maybe not. I can't say yes or no. But in my mind, the way I think, come on. He was probably dropping bombs with whatever bombs they had.
Whatever that was. Well, brood of vipers is a bomb in the Old Testament, so, in the old times.
I'm like, so what was he? You know, he was just flipping tape. You know, people that ain't they just not flip. You know, their words are coming out of your mouth. You
right.
know, you hear the words that come out, but words are coming out of his mouth. I mean, it's like, let's be real. So it's just. I don't.
Brian said, "Man, if cussing is a sin, I'm in a bad way."
Me too,
bro. I hear you,
but man, publicly, okay, but again, this 21st century got to, but that was public.
Yeah,
Jesus didn't do the flipping table in just in a tent in Galilee in the corner. Right. Couple people seen it. It was open display in the second temple. You know what the second temple was? That was a
huge
public
temple.
place.
Yeah,
it wasn't more than a couple of people around there. A
little bit, and especially during Passover.
So my thing is, you know, yes, should we? But as I tell people all the time, you know, I am finite on this point. This is why I tell people these things. And I tell people that that don't look for me for any bashing, but the context that what you're saying in our vernacular, the word you used was what you felt in that moment, and we can always say we shouldn't have done something in that moment, but we can look back and say Jesus shouldn't have flipped the table in that moment. Jesus was human. He might have thought about that, and I should have done that. But he obviously no word that he was apologetic about it.
Right.
Or he apologized for it.
Right.
You know, and I'm pretty sure it was women and children that just not men. Seeing that violent act that he did of flipping tables because of what was happening in what he said was the house of God. You turned into a marketplace, and so I don't, because the action, the anger was warranted. It's a different when the anger is not warranted. They were in his father's house, in his mind, turning the place into a den of robbers.
Right.
Tom Brady, which calls you, Tom Brady said that, the wife is fine, but here's what angers me. People for 200 plus years in this country has put on uniforms. Oh, this makes me mad. And my wife is fine. No, and died for this country, fighting wars that they didn't send themselves to.
Fact.
What are you talking about? People, is a deployment, Tom Brady. People have lost loved ones fighting wars so you can play football. Again, this is going back to the stop the tape to the pastors. Now, here's my point is, all you military flag loving people, all you people who says Kaepernick is disrespecting the flag and he's disrespecting with people in uniform, what are you going to say about this? This is going to expose you, because Tom Brady is not worried about anybody touching Tom Brady. You know why? Because he's Tom Brady. Goodell's not going to kick him out the league. The Tampa Bay is not going to suspend him. He's Tom Brady. But you, and then me seeing what they did to Kaepernick for just kneeling, this man said that going to football is like going on a military deployment. Where's the outrage? Where's the offense now? Or is it because y'all said everybody in the military was offended by what Cap did? This is offensive to the man instead of kneeling, instead of sitting, he's kneel. Everybody was offended by it, including the military people. Don't change now. See, don't flip the script now. But this man has said it's the same equivalency as going on to a deployment. Deployment that people never come back from. Deployment where husband and wife don't see their children again. They lose their, So you shouldn't be. You perfectly in proper context. We all say things we shouldn't have said, but in that moment, this is why Thomas. We call him down. I even stopped calling down Thomas because
I call him Scientific Thomas.
He has had such a bad rap.
Yeah.
In moments, it's easy to talk about what you should do, but in the moment, sometimes it's good to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus, I don't believe Jesus was regretted flipping the tables.
No,
I just don't believe he did it. I don't believe he did. And so it is what it is, because in that moment, you were a military member. You know what it is. But what me and you both cannot say, we don't know what it's like to die for this country.
That's a fact.
We served it.
Thank
we gotta
God.
keep it real. We served it, but we didn't die for it.
Fact. That's a fact.
But so they have the greater offense, and the people, and forget even us, the people have to listen to you say that, Tom Brady, that you saying that you're equivalent for my husband and wife dying, or my son and daughter dying, of you playing a football game on TV, a kid's game,
trash.
Have they got millions and millions of dollars for? I ain't got no millions of dollars for being in the military.
I had people that deployed with me on food stamps.
Yeah.
Kicking down doors in the middle of Ramadi.
Oh, but you can quit at any time. Breaking news. Nobody's making you play football. When you sign that contract, you're going down range whether you want to or not, because you're giving an oath.
Yep.
Nobody's making you play for Tampa Bay Tom Brady. What oath have you taken?
Matter of fact, you announced your retirement.
What oath have you taken? To play one moment of football. You haven't taken an oath to play one moment. It's for your benefit. It is a lucrative career. Period.
Yep.
But you have no oath. You can walk from that contract and you just don't get paid, get the money back.
It's true.
We took an oath. We couldn't just walk away from that contract. So
it's fact.
I mean, but I'm going to be watching. Where y'all at now? Because Cap did the worst thing that you could ever done. And y'all just didn't say y'all said he was disrespecting people in uniform.
Yeah.
If this is not I mean, are they going? Where's Goodell's statement at?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's. Yeah, it frustrates me for a lot of ways, right? But I get, the core of the question. One, I want to make sure people understand I'm not upset about this question. That is a legitimate question to ask your pastor. If you're a Safeway, here's the difference. If your pastor talks about cussing being a sin on the pulpit, and then you catch him at Safeway and he drops the brisket on the ground and he drops the F-bomb. Okay, maybe you need to have a conversation with that pastor. Oh, hey, you're saying one thing, you're doing another. Okay. But for me, what I want to turn this into an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity when you see someone do something like that and quote unquote slip. I didn't slip. I meant to say what I said, and my wife actually told me, "Well, you just mouthed it." I mean, you can go to my TikTok and look at it. You just mouthed it. You didn't actually say it. Well, that's politicians' math. I'm not getting into all that. I meant what I said. Like, I would have said it if the soundbite wouldn't have said it. I would have absolutely said it. So, I'm going to own the fact that I said it. And I'm not sorry for what I said. I am sorry and repentant if it actually hurts someone that I said the word that I said.
Well, I think my thing, I agree. We get hung on the word cussing. Okay,
yeah.
We know what those words have been defined. Okay, but what if this happens? I'm preaching a sermon. I walk up to a member, and I say nicely with good words, "You're not worth 15 cents."
Well, that's cussing to me.
But it's not, by our terms, it's not.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
It's legalistic.
You see, it's legal. But that is a flat out. That is anti-human. That's inhumane. Mm-hmm. Who are any other human to say forget cussing? Right. Forget that. Let's just do that. Who has? That's what the slave was. Well, y'all not human.
Yeah.
So we're justifying our minds to enslave you. So when you look at cursing, we get caught up in the wrong thing. Brady made a wrong statement because it was so. My hurt is for, again, the people who paid the full measure of devotion.
Right.
To say something like that. I wouldn't even say that, and I'm deployed.
Yeah,
I haven't had deployment like that.
I don't even compare my deployments to other people's deployments. You deployed
exactly,
or you said you would, even if you haven't deployed.
And so, but you said so that'll be okay. But they got you on tape at your church saying you're not worth 15 cents. They're gonna say, well, he was angry or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Yeah, that's
the worst.
Yeah, to me, I mean, yeah, I agree with you.
You're denigrating the image bearer of God.
Yeah, absolutely.
You didn't denigrate the image bearer of God. You use an adjective that we understand, showing your frustration clearly where you were. And so, but if I got you on tape, desecrating the house of God, like we saying about say y'all ain't bought me y'all too broke to buy me whatever.
Wouldn't buy me a watch.
And then using the N-word. Now you talking about a word,
right?
We're going. I wrote a word, which is they say it's the worst word in the English language. This is what scholars say. Mm-hmm. This is the worst word you can call somebody an open pulpit. I mean, so we got to balance things out because.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, I'm not taking it down. I meant what I said. No. That's not going to change it. I think taking it down now at this point is me going against what I said. I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. Miss Rachel says, "You like Scientific Thomas?" Me too. I like it. And Brian said, "I've never seen anywhere in the Bible where it says thou shalt not use the F-bomb." Well, you're not wrong. Yeah. You're not wrong. It's about intent for me, really. It was not my intent to hurt anyone but the person I had that directed at, which was Tom Brady, who could care less what I think, right? Which is okay. I don't.
You can.
That's fine.
You can dehumanize somebody with the most beautiful words that you ever said.
Oh yeah. Shakespeare was good at it.
Language is very. This is why writing is so. It's difficult because people look at people, it's context. People look at different things. Look at things different ways. So,
yeah. But that's okay. It's all right. If you want to see it, it's still up. I'll take your views. No problem. So thanks for all your questions. We didn't get to every one of them. Actually, we got through about half of them, which is good. That means we got questions for next time. Be sure to like us. If you ever feel inclined now, we've got the stars thing set up on our lives now. You can send us stars. I don't know what that actually does, but Facebook said we're at a point where we can do that now. So feel free. I have a book coming out November 1st. It's coming out on Amazon. I think the Kindle releases tomorrow, but we're not going to do a hard launch until November 1st. It's called Exchanging Greenness for Whiteness. It's really if you want to make it awkward around your Thanksgiving table, go ahead and put that down on the table. I guarantee you it will. Yeah. It will. I want to invoke conversation, but I could see how the book is going to invoke rage. So and that's okay too. We need to get it out. But that's kind of where I'm at now, and I know, Bishop, you got a book coming out. You haven't dropped the title yet.
Haven't dropped the title yet. I got it on the roster, but it's close. Mine will come out around December.
He won't even tell me, guys. I'm keeping
the title close to vest, but it's good. I'm really. I'm glad when this is out because it's been late, but I think it's going to be good, and I'm excited about it. And mine's about December time frame because my editor is doing stuff, but it's good. But it's going to be good, and so we're going to be reviewing those books. Open up the season, we're reviewing our own books. Yeah. It's good to review other people, but we're going to do our own next year.
Yep. And then we're going to talk about House of Dragons. We got that coming up. I'm really excited about that. I'm sad that Sunday is going to be the last one for this. I got to wait a whole year. But I'll pray. It'll be okay. Yeah, it'll be all right. So thanks for listening tonight, and until next time.
God bless you.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Bishop Brothers. Make sure to visit our page, Bishop Brothers, where you can like and follow so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, please tell a friend about the show. The brothers salute you. Until we meet again, Godspeed.